Why?
Welcome back to Uncharted X. This is Ben, and I hope that you're all doing well. In past videos on this channel, we've talked about some pretty darn big blocks of megalithic stone, those that are found on the famous ancient sites around the world, particularly in Egypt. Many people know about the utterly massive unfinished obelisk at Aswan, still connected to the bedrock, that's estimated to weigh in at around 1,200 tons. Other finished and standing obelisks, like this one at Karnak, are in the 400-ton range. Then there are the remnants and broken chunks of what once were gigantic single-piece statues of granite or quartzite, like the Colossi of Memnon, each over 700 tons, and other statues that were nearly twice the size. The incredible remnants of a granite statue at the Ramesseum, located close to the Colossi, which was likely at or exceeding 1,000 tons. Even the granite pedestal block for this statue that it was lifted up and placed on top of is around 600 tons. Another example, the mighty arm of a single-piece composite quartzite statue that was originally and remarkably a standing figure rather than one seated. It can be found in the boneyard at Karnak Temple, and similar to the statue at the Ramesseum, is estimated to be in the 1,000-ton range, likely only one of several statues that were once extant on this site. Even far to the north, at Tanis in the delta of Egypt, some 1,000 kilometers distant from the granite quarry, this giant foot, roughly the same size as the foot of the Statue of Liberty, shows that there was once another of these huge single-piece statues located here. These examples of standalone pieces, either obelisks or statues, are found on ancient Egyptian sites that are generally attributed to the later periods of the dynastic civilization, the Middle and New Kingdoms. While I think there is evidence and an argument to be made that they, the artifacts and even the origins of the sites themselves, might well be far older than this, and it's an argument that I do make.
I don't know if it's Eid or not.
Dedicated to them.
But I know I wrote Merry Christmas. I don't know.
What about the actual Old Kingdom sites? Places like the Giza Plateau, with its mighty stone pyramids, where most, if not all, of the architecture and artifacts are attributed to the oldest periods of known history, and not to later periods of the Egyptian civilization. Are there massive, almost inconceivably heavy single-piece stones found on these locations? Well, in today's video, that's the topic we're going to get into, because in the last couple of years, my good friend Yusuf Awen and I have found what, at least to our knowledge, is the largest single-piece stone on the Giza Plateau, and I wanted to share it with everyone. While the examples I've given so far, the unfinished obelisk, the Colossi of Memnon, etc., are relatively well-known and documented, the large blocks on the Giza Plateau are far less well-known, yet also represent a tremendous logistical challenge. Before we get into the details, a quick update on the channel and on upcoming events. If you want the chance to check out the incredible sights of ancient Egypt for yourself, I have some good news. Due to demand and the fact that we were forced to cancel our planned extension to Lebanon, we've added a second Egypt tour for 2024. March 3rd to the 18th, 2024, my good friends Yusuf Awen of the Komet School and Kyle and Russ Allen from the Brothers of the Serpent podcast will be joining me on a tour of Upper and Lower Egypt. With 7 special permission accesses, including a surprise that I'm very excited about, as well as a 4-night Nile cruise, it promises to be a great time. If you're interested, all the details are on my website, unchartedx.com, or via the link below in the description. I'll also be speaking during the total solar eclipse at the Eclipse at the Canyon event next year, April 6th to 9th, 2024, in Utopia, Texas. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's an astronomical event, an ancient mystery conference, and an outdoor camping music festival, all rolled up into one. There'll be a bunch of great speakers, some stand-up comedy, along with live bands, including $50 Dynasty, over 3 nights of camping. If that sounds good to you, all of the details are on the Eventbrite page, which is linked below. I'm also happy to say that the 5th season of Gyges' Ancient Civilization show is available for streaming, and that I was a part of it. If you're interested in checking out the full season, signing up over at Gaia is a great way to help out the Uncharted X channel, and to get access to tons of excellent content on the Gaia network. My affiliate link for a Gaia membership is below in the description and in the comments, as is the link for a special offer for a free 7-day trial if you just want to check it out first before committing. Lastly, in channel news, I've been publishing regular stream highlight videos to my second channel, Uncharted X Live. We do a lot of raw footage review and exploration of various ancient sites, and this is more casual, unscripted, and less produced content, but I can take the time to really get into some details. Check out the channel via the link below, and I'd love a sub over there if you like the content. Now, back to the video.
Yo, thanks, bro. Are you serious,
Let's take
man?
a quick
Thank you,
overview
man.
of some of the major features of the Giza Plateau
fucking
so that
man,
we can
dude.
put the location of some of these
No
large
obligation
blocks
to do
into
that,
some
but I
context.
appreciate that, man. 22
Of
months.
course, the most
Holy
famous
crap,
of
man.
these
Thank
monuments
you,
here
dude.
is the Great
I didn't
Pyramid
even do
of
anything
Giza.
yet.
It's
I
hard to fully
literally
convey
eating
the
fucking
majesty of
kafta
this
and I get
architectural
subbed for
achievement.
me. Thanks,
It's just
bro.
one of those things you have to see in person. Covering an area of roughly 53,000 square meters, just over 13 acres,
Thank you, man.
and
Dude, that's
standing
amazing. How you doing, bro?
146 meters or
Hope you're
481
doing well, man.
feet tall, precisely aligned to the cardinal directions. It weighs in at an approximate 6 million tons. Made up primarily of 2.3 million nummulitic limestone blocks, the average weight of each of these blocks is between 2 and 3 tons. Not huge individually, but that's far from the full story when it comes to this monument. While we could talk about the Great Pyramid for hours, we're talking large blocks in this video,
Cool,
and
man.
the internal structure of the pyramid certainly has some of those.
totally copied your
the
Bill
so-called
Gates emote,
King's
I'm
Chamber
sorry.
in the center of the pyramid is made
I
up
totally
of
stole
very
it.
large granite blocks. I always marvel at the size of the block that sits above
I
the entrance.
apologize.
It seems to be easily the largest
It
single
is, bro.
block in the
How are you,
walls of
Stash?
this
Hope you're doing well,
incredible
man.
chamber.
Sorry, dude. I had to.
The largest
adjust my
blocks,
stuff.
however, are the
What's up, man?
granite
How you doing,
beams that form the ceiling. 9 slabs, each in the 60 to 75 ton range.
Just massive.
It's good. Cool, man. Saw you saw the Type R in person. Civic Type R. Pretty wild. I agree. It's too expensive for what it is, I think.
We don't
Oh,
even know
yes.
how far they would go, I'd imagine. They might keep going. Is that the edge of them? I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't know it was that big. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's just too expensive too, I think.
The structure continues above the ceiling with another 4 smaller chambers,
It is a
typically
crazy
and
car, though.
incorrectly known as the relieving chambers. These are also
It's
made
too
up of
expensive.
huge granite beams.
Your car is
with
crazy, too.
8, 9, or 10 blocks making up each chamber's ceiling. In the open space at the very top, named Campbell's Chamber, the ceiling is made from angled blocks of limestone, which do, in fact, relieve the mass of the pyramid above, but they are supported by the surrounding masonry, not the granite of the central structure, essentially making the granitic architecture below it freestanding. In total, the granite that makes up the entirety of the whole King's Chamber
great, bro.
structure is
Congratulations,
estimated to weigh some
That's huge.
2,500 to
That's such great
3,000
news. Thanks,
tons.
man.
It's also
Thanks.
around 43
Thanks
meters
for telling me.
or 140
Nice, dude.
feet
How to go with the
above
insurance?
the
You don't
ground
have to, you don't have to say anything if you don't want.
That is a lot of mass and some very heavy individual stones to get that high
Oh,
up
wow.
into the air, and an extremely complex and difficult logistical
Insane.
challenge, particularly for an early
I wanna
Bronze Age
relocate to
civilization
Miami.
who did not use the wheel or force multipliers like pulleys or capstans. While the blocks that make up the Great Pyramid's limestone superstructure are generally all between 2 to 3 tons, the middle pyramid of the Giza Plateau is far more megalithic. Some of the blocks in the lower courses are simply enormous. Here you can see Jimmy Corsetti standing on top of one of them when we were both there in 2020. Not only that, but these lower courses
too expensive.
have
It's
been laid
changing
on
on,
top
no
of
way.
massive foundation
No,
tiles,
is it?
also made of limestone.
Yeah, in 2021
Some
it
easily
was
in the 200-ton
it
range.
was like not
And
too
these
cheap
are like
or not too
three-dimensional
expensive.
puzzle pieces
I was
that
paying
serve to lock
$1,200 rent
the
a
entire
month.
structure down into the bedrock.
I'm sure it's shot up now.
These are same interlocking pieces like the tiles we just saw over there. But these are like 6-7 times bigger, if not 10 times bigger than the other one. You can
Yeah, there's a lot of
achieve
traffic.
this work
The
on a
traffic is
smaller
crazy.
scale because usually when you're trying to lock, there are pieces that is not fitting together. Then you usually remove the piece, remove more material, and keep trying
know,
until
man.
it locks together.
Miami's
But
amazing.
here,
it.
The challenge is different because, of course,
Remote, yeah.
the size. Size does matter.
The pyramid is built into a
Place
west
to
to
visit,
east slope of the Giza Plateau. On the eastern side of the pyramid, near where the tourist buses park, you can see just how thick these foundation tiles are, easily over a metre, 3 to 4 feet. Some of these foundation tiles are roughly 10 metres to a side, which is a huge amount of work. Given the rough weight of this type of limestone is about 2.3
Maybe
tons
I'm going to be a
per
currency
cubic
trader
metre,
like you,
a
Toad,
10
bro.
by
Sorry,
10
no,
by
I don't
1
really
metre
dox you,
thick
bro.
block
No
would be
currency. Never
around
mind. He doesn't do that.
230 tons.
In Minecraft, he does.
As the eastern side was built up with these foundation tiles, the western side of the pyramid had to be conversely cut down, which is also a huge amount of work, as the walls of the bedrock enclosure are in places more than 10 meters or 30 to 40 feet
Oh man,
tall.
let me get
The builders even chose to
Dude,
shape
I've
the
cleaned-
southwestern
I've been
corner of
cleaning
the
my
pyramid from bedrock itself
parents'
rather than
house
blocks.
the last
And this is a feature that I've
3
covered
weeks.
in more detail in one of my earlier
Oh my
videos
god,
on
man,
this
I
structure.
cleaned up so much shit.
Another significant difference
amazing.
between
This
the
room is
Great
so full
Pyramid
of shit,
and the
dude.
Middle Pyramid at
Now
Giza
it's all clean.
is that the lower course, perhaps even the lower two courses of the Middle Pyramid, were cased in granite, and not the Tura limestone that makes up the
Dude,
rest
we
of the
should
casing,
trade.
as
Dude, we
well
should
as the
trade
casing stones
identities.
of the Great Pyramid.
Stash.
In a few places, these
I
granite
think I gotta
casing
go to.
stones
I think
are
I gotta
still in
lift a
place,
lot more
and a walk around the
weights
perimeter
frequently
of the pyramid
and
will
go to
have
the
you
tanning
wandering
salon.
amongst the quarried
We
remnants
should
of these
definitely.
large blocks of
I'll give you my
very hard
ID.
stone.
I get your ID.
Ramses II of the 19th dynasty in the New Kingdom was
I would
quarrying
totally work at
and
Home Depot in
removing the
Florida. Are you
granite
kidding
from
me?
the
I love
structure
that.
during his reign
I was
and
gonna work for Amazon, but they
recycling
wouldn't
it for
fucking
use
hire
on
me
other
because
sites.
wetback.
The perimeter length of the Middle Pyramid at Giza is around 862
Only if you're
meters,
Mexican, I
or
guess.
2,824 feet. That's a lot of granite in a course or two, many thousands and thousands of tons. And in some places, the granite blocks even run too deep before
I'm
butting
just
up
being
against the
sarcastic, bro. I
limestone
don't-
blocks
I
that
don't
make
feel
up the
like
superstructure.
considering it.
This granite,
I
considering
kinda
that
wanna
it
do
comes
that,
from
but-
the quarries 500 miles to the south, represents a monstrous logistical challenge.
I don't know. Canada's taking in a lot of
Particularly when you
immigrants now,
consider
man.
the cutting and precision
You probably
shaping
get a.
of
You
hard
probably
stone
become
like
an immigrant
this.
here.
Something that I've explored in depth in my videos on ancient machining as well as ancient.
I think
granite
that's my
and basalt
future,
cutting.
being a student. Honestly,
Apart from the millions of
doing
tons
a
of limestone that are
postgrad
in the pyramid
in
itself, the
archaeology
logistical challenge gets even more
in the
insane
United States, I think
when
it's
you consider
honestly
the full scope of the entire pyramid complex, and
my
that it was
calling.
all supposedly completed in only a
That's the
couple
only
of
way I'll get
decades
money.
during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, the son of King Khufu,
and to be in the U.S.
comprising far more than just the pyramid. The Middle
gonna type
Pyramid
more than
complex includes a nearly 500-meter long and very wide
that
constructed
sound, man?
causeway, originally with a roof and casing stones, along with two mighty megalithic structures that sit at either end of it. At the far end, it's known as the Valley Temple, and next to the pyramid is the mortuary, or the Pyramid Temple. According to the standard model, also included in this complex, and again all attributed to Old Kingdom Pharaoh Khafre of the 4th
There's
dynasty,
a lot that you
is
hear,
the
my
Great
friends.
Sphinx,
Thank you.
as well as the megalithic Sphinx Temple, which sits right
Where are you
front
thinking
of
of
it and
relocating, man?
next to the Valley Temple. It's these so-called temple structures in the
You don't
Middle
know?
Pyramid complex
Okay.
that contain the largest blocks on the Giza Plateau. All three of them have been constructed in a similar fashion. Massive interior limestone blocks that are then cased
great
in
idea.
precision carved.
But I can't get a job here.
The Valley Temple is
quite sure
by
I applied to
far
Home Depot.
the best preserved of the three, with many of its original granite casing stones still in
Maybe
place.
if it talks in
and
Andrews.
it's spectacular.
Just go in there.
In this alcove,
It's a big
next
enough
to the
store
main
that might
entrance,
just find something
there are
for me,
granite blocks
honestly.
here that are in the 60 to 70 ton range.
I applied
And in
everywhere,
small
man. No,
areas,
they're not
the
hiring.
surface of
Like
the
it's
stone here
crazy, man.
shows their original finished
Fucked.
and polished state, extremely flat and smooth.
That is in a good condition and
I'll try again.
how smooth and polished the hands were.
That's why I was doing Uber Eats, man. I couldn't
That's
get a
one
job
side.
anywhere.
So as you know, all this granite survived because it was under the rubble. The entire structure here survived the inside because it was under the rubble as well.
Much of the surface of the granite casing stones in the structure has spalled and eroded in our modern times, but it was all originally flat, square, polished and smooth. Despite the rough surface that we see today, the evidence of the precision fit of these granite blocks can still be found all over the temple. with no mortar between the stones. In places, it's difficult to even see where the blocks might have been fit together. The line just disappears. It's an incredible achievement, no matter how you think it might or might not have been done.
Christian, what's up, man?
The Valley Temple also shows us the combination of stone types that seem to be so prevalent in many of the precisely made megalithic structures of Egypt: limestone, granite, and white calcite, which is technically also a type of sedimentary limestone that forms around natural springs, varieties of which are also known as alabaster or travertine. The floor of the Valley Temple is made from blocks of white calcite, and while it comes in various colours, the whitest of calcite comes from near the core or source of ancient natural springs.
In the Montreal.
In a calcite
Montreal.
quarry, the further you get from the source of the
Montreal.
spring, the more impurities end up in the stone, resulting in yellow or brown
Morpho.
coloured calcite. White calcite isn't something that you just find lying
Never
around
mind,
on
I'm
the
such a
surface.
jerk.
The process of sourcing
just
it
kidding.
in large amounts, like what's found in
C'est Montréal ou
structures,
c'est
is
Montfort?
a challenge not to be underestimated. Given the
C'est
colouring
Mont
and
Blanc.
value of these blocks, much of the white calcite
So
has
cool,
been removed
wow,
and
insane.
recycled over time, and the floor here has been repaired and reconstructed in
He
our
might
modern
actually
era.
be in
But some
Montreal.
original pieces
It's wild,
remain.
man.
Large blocks of
Yeah,
white
dude, it's
calcite
cold as
can be
balls
seen.
here. Are you serious,
Their
man?
white colouring
Congratulations. Hey,
contrasting
you know
against
what?
the rose granite.
I'm going to take the benefit
Behind
of the
the
doubt.
locked doors of alcoves
Rebecca
in the Valley
Smith's is
Temple,
real.
these alcoves are located
Christians
to the
in
sides of the
Montreal.
passage that lead up to the
Enjoy
Great
it, man.
Sphinx.
That's cool, bro.
Now, we could talk all day about the Valley Temple and its many interesting features, like its incredible precision-made
Apple Watch
cornice blocks,
unavailable?
or its 16
With Twitch friends
granite
as well.
columns,
That's cool,
or
dude.
even its
Congratulations,
U-shaped
man.
channeled block that sits in the back.
Apple Watch is
But I'll save
unavailable.
those
That
for a future
sucks. What
dedicated
about all the people that
video on
paid
the
for it?
structure.
Wasn't that like $300?
The important
or some
aspect of the
bullshit?
Valley Temple here
That
is
is
that its
hilarious.
well-preserved state gives
That
us
is
some
absolutely
context
tragic.
when looking at the other megalithic structures of the Middle Pyramid complex.
Oh wow, insane.
Both the Sphinx
Congratulations,
Temple
man.
and the Pyramid Temple were also
Congrats,
cased
dude.
in
That's
granite
amazing.
in the same way that the Valley Temple was, although today nearly all of the granite
that's
from these
nice.
structures is gone. A little while back, I published
me too,
a
Toad.
dedicated video on the Sphinx Temple, as it's quite rare to get a chance
don't own
to
a
take
car, I don't have a
inside. It's been
car.
closed behind locked gates for decades, but fortunately, I had that chance in 2022. At the other end of the causeway,
do
the
this.
Pyramid Temple, or Mortuary Temple,
Yeah,
as it's also
I would
known,
like to tell
is
it. I
the
do. I
exact
want it. I
opposite.
want it.
It's
I do.
fully open to the public.
I would.
But its
I would.
details and secrets
like,
are
I don't
always
know.
obvious
I don't know what's
or
going on in
plain
life.
sight.
Feel safe here?
Similar
Yeah,
to the
that's good,
Middle
man.
Pyramid
That's good, dude.
itself, the Mortuary
man,
Temple
if
has
you're
been
here-
built on top of
No, yeah,
layers
dude,
of
I do. I want
foundation
it. I want
tiles,
it.
which are visible around the edges.
I know. I won't be available for
It's built on top of a foundation that is also
until
built
after
from
New
stone.
Year's. To be absolutely honest.
Then the stones are
And it's not like I'm here.
built on
I'm
top of
going.
the bedrock
I'm
itself.
not
These
gonna
massive
be here.
blocks here.
Yeah.
How long are you? How long are you in Montreal, Christian? Dude, that'd be amazing if we set that up,
On
dude.
top from the bedrock down here.
Really? Are you serious?
Laid
Let's
up.
do it. Let's do it.
That we see is constructed.
That's amazing.
With these sizes, it's still
Are you serious now? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Serious? Like,
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
you can't make accusations
And it's
like
like
that
3 layers
without
deep
some
down
evidence.
here.
I assume
And there's a channeled block down there too.
that you
right?
have some. It's okay. You don't need to dox yourself, man. But
Let me get a look at that.
that's a line from Perfect Dark.
Channeled block there.
Serious, thanks, man. I'm
Also,
sorry I ever doubted
we
you.
can see the figures,
sorry
the indentations
I
that
ever
we
called
see
you a liar when
in the
you're not a
blocks.
liar. I'm the
These
next Matt Cook,
shows that the
Where you
temple
know,
was encased all the way
where
to
there's
the
this
top.
guy that didn't think that Perfect
like
Days
the
was a
van.
real person. And then
And
Perfect
there used
Days,
to be
we got a
actually
10-year-old
more
posted a
pillars
video
in
getting
this
a
one,
War
according
26
to the
world
official
record.
16 down in the
Six,
valley
take that,
and
Matt.
24 here.
24 of the,
Makes
And I'm
14
Matt.
pillars.
the square pillars, right?
I'm
The
that guy.
square
Pillars,
granite
exactly
single
like
piece
those.
pillars. Yeah.
Compared to the Valley Temple, the
Sure, I'll do
Mortuary
it. Yeah,
Temple
let's do
was
it.
a
Let's do it.
considerably larger
We can play
structure,
hockey or something.
both
I got
in
my
footprint
I got my
and in terms
skates.
of what was contained
Got my
within
skates
it.
and stick.
The Valley Temple has 16 granite pillars. Many
I
of
do,
which
I don't
are
check
still
it
in
very
place
often,
and
but I
make
do.
for spectacular viewing.
But yeah,
Yet the
if I don't
Mortuary
reply,
Temple
it's because I
originally
haven't
contained
checked it.
some
I haven't checked
24
Instagram in a
of
long
these
time.
huge granite pillars, although today only remnants
But I will.
of them
I will.
are found here.
I'll try
And
you.
these are remnants of pillars or something?
Yes, as we said, 24 pillars.
It would be an honor, man. I would be an honor to finally meet you and
Yeah.
do like a calisthenics stream.
Are there any documented round, like pillar? I know we have the round columns at.
I think we got to
Sahara
plan it
and
with
Abu Sir.
toad.
Do we see any of those here? That's not as far as we know. Okay.
But yeah, maybe January
The ones here and the
after
ones in
the
front
after the
of
first, like after
Yeah.
were
probably like
Square.
square or a bit rectangular. Sometimes it's rectangular if it's
yeah, that'd be amazing.
supporting two lintels, like the two rectangular ones in the Valley Temple. They are
Yeah.
rectangular because two beams, one coming from this side and one coming from that side. So it's supporting a lintel from here and a lintel
From there.
yeah.
The massive limestone core blocks of this structure, which were once fully cased in granite all the way to the top, show signs of tremendous levels of erosion, something that I'll comment on a little later, and many of them are easily over 100 tons each.
This part also was work. Fill up the granite stone casing, and all this work up there shows, and the one on top of it as well
Yeah.
shows that. So the temple was encased in and out with granite stone, which we see the ruins of everywhere.
Yeah, this is granite. This is a granite casing stone. So all of these shapes you see in the limestone blocks, that's all heavily eroded. Well, all cased in granite. Insane.
Some people say that the pyramid is from local stone and it weighs around 3 tons for blocking multi-hundreds of tons.
Yeah, not like 450 tons.
And most of these are more than 100 tons. Most of the
Yeah.
blocks that we see.
The limestone core has been extensively repaired and buttressed in modern times. Damage from erosion has been filled in with bricks and mortar and then covered over and painted to look like limestone.
Now, the erosion was so severe.
I mean, look at
that
this.
The
Yeah.
Ministry of Antiquities,
Repaired this.
repaired it by putting these big blocks inside the erosion, so you can imagine how severe this erosion was. So this here is a restoration by the Ministry of Antiquities, and it's not the only part.
Yeah.
There is this part here, this is a huge part. All this is also smaller pieces were made as reinforcement for this piece. to
Yes, this
prevent
is
it
all
from falling.
concrete in here. Yeah.
It's in the core blocks here that we find what I think is the largest shaped stone on the Giza Plateau. It's one of the lower masonry blocks that is set deeply into the foundation. By estimating its height and then pacing out its length and width, we can estimate its volume in cubic meters, which can give us an indication of weight, as this type of nummulitic limestone is around 2.3 tons per cubic meter.
You have documented the large one we found so far before.
Yeah, I want to document that again though. We should paste that out.
Sure, maybe.
Up at the mortuary temple, it's just massive megalith.
I mean,
Yeah,
sure.
it's this block.
Yes, that block.
This one here?
This one. It's the same one.
That would be a cool stream.
Yeah.
It's about 4
We'd be,
meters.
totally be streaming most of it
4
too.
meters high, about that.
Look at it. Yeah. About 4 meters high. Until here.
Until here, yeah.
And then more than 7.
More than 7 meters long. Let's see.
About 7 as well.
It's about 7 meters.
So
Yeah, let's look at the calculator here.
look at the calculation. 7 by 7
4 by 7,
equal 20 by
28,
equal.
196 Q.
Of course,
In case you missed it, let's just run that calculation one more time. 4 meters high by 7 meters long is 28 by 7 meters wide is 196 cubic meters of limestone. Times that by the average weight of limestone at 2.3 tons per cubic meter, and you get 450.8 tons. So, based on what are probably conservative estimates for width, length and height, this single block is approximately in the 400 to 450 ton range, perhaps more. One of the few references confirming this comes from Alberto Ciliotti and Zahi Hawas's book, Guide to the Pyramids of Egypt, of which I own a copy. And in the section on the mortuary temple, it reports that one of its blocks weighs an estimated 400 tons. This block has definitely been shaped and carved on one end, but it was likely moved as a much more square piece and then finished in place.
Of course, we can see that this part was worked, so it was probably moved as a cube,
Yes.
and then it was worked after it was placed, as we see in most
Yeah.
cases, like what we see here. These
Yeah.
parts and the other
So it's
parts.
probably worked down, but still moved as a
Look at the
cube.
piece on top of it.
Yeah, crazy erosion, right? So
The
what do
new
you?
generation makes it look even more massive.
The young kids. Yeah. So what do you got? 196 cubic.
Yes.
196 cubic meters times what? 2.3 tons per cubic meter. 2.3.
That's 450 tons. If it was
450 tons. That's a big block. This thing is the biggest block that we found.
Why? Because
On
it's
the
Jan
plateau.
6, or because it's the weekend? I know. I saw it's the weekend too.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just saw January 6th,
There are
like
ample
like a
examples
resurrection
of
or
this
some
technique
shit.
of finishing blocks in place found all over the ancient megalithic sites of Egypt, one of the best examples being the granite casing stones of the third pyramid. As with the larger limestone blocks in the mortuary temple, these granite casing stones were transported to the site unfinished in order to protect them during transport, and then they were shaped to their final dimensions and finished on site and in place. Lifting and transporting a block of this weight, 400 plus tons, is really no simple matter. With today's technology, it would take some of our largest and most expensive mobile cranes even to load, unload, and place the block. For example, here is the Liebherr LTM 1400 mobile
It's
crane.
Mercury. We're in the
with a
middle of
maximum
the
load
Mercury
capacity
retrograde,
of
so like everything is
400
getting
tons.
fucked up. We're doing pretty well.
Even then, at its
We're doing pretty
maximum
well.
capacity load,
Fucking
it would not
we-
be able to move it
Venus
very
was
far from its
opposite
center of gravity.
Uranus yesterday.
Transporting the block any distance
So we're
is
doing pretty
yet
well.
another challenge.
We passed
Although
that
in this
transit.
case, it is likely that it wasn't actually that
The
far.
disconnection
This block
between
would have
body
either been
and
quarried from the limestone bedrock of the Giza Plateau
like
itself,
rebelling
or from
against
some of the
love
other
and
limestone
body and
quarries that
shit.
are located in the modern Cairo region,
good-
which are
not a
only
good thing.
several miles away. We know that massive blocks were
I hope you have a
transported
good
long
Christmas.
distances
Yo,
in
that's
ancient
nice, bro.
times.
That's nice.
The
You too,
longest
dude.
distance I know
man.
of is that of the
With your
colossal
homies?
1,000-ton statue that's found at Tanis in the north of Egypt. A block that, unfinished and during transport, might have been some 1,200 to 1,500 tons, and it was transported around 1,000 kilometers from the granite quarries in the south. As mentioned, many of the other limestone masonry blocks in the mortuary temple structure are easily over 100 tons each, and they were stacked up high, and then precisely cased in granite. We can see a very similar pattern of core masonry in the Valley and Sphinx temples, with many individual limestone blocks comfortably in the 100-ton range. This one that sits over the entrance to the Sphinx viewing platform in the Valley Temple is huge. Back at the mortuary temple, with almost all of the granite removed, you can see how these massive blocks, and today they're very heavily eroded and repaired, were once lifted up and placed on top of each other. In a couple of cases in the mortuary temple, the original granite casing stones are still visible. At the entrance to the temple, facing the causeway, massive 11-metre long limestone pieces still have their granite casing stones in front. It's interesting to note here that the block that was on top of the lower one is now in front, having fallen off due to nothing more than severe erosional damage.
And I always look at the scattered stones, and I thought it's the cause of the recycling.
Yeah.
As we usually see evidence of people recycling. Until I was walking one day over here, because we usually point to the granite stone casing that is thick under the rubble of the stone that survived under the rubble from the recyclers. And then I noticed They're true. As you can see, the casing stone here, that used to encase the entire temple,
Yeah.
just like the Valley Temple down there. And as we mentioned before, that this block here
Fell.
fell. On top of this one here,
Yeah, and some people think this is like evidence for some sort of ramp, or they were taking blocks here, but this actually fell out. It's a stupid idea, yeah.
according to his YouTube research. But we see the height of the lower block. This is a separate block from that one, and they are separated right here. And we can see the line of erosion, the original width of the block is from
there.
here until here, of course.
Yeah.
And the same for the one that fell.
Yeah.
So as we can see, the deterioration kept eroding and eroding until they could no longer support each other.
And it fell. Yeah.
Just by realizing that, I looked at the rest of the structure, and you can see the entire structure is actually falling apart, not from recycling,
From erosion.
from erosion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
It is. Well,
It looks really old.
it does seem quite old. Yes,
We,
that's
of course, need more investigation about this, but it's not hard because if you compare the other stones that were exposed, and we realized that the difference in stone masonry
yeah.
down there in the Valley Temple, the same quality of stone is over there, and it was exposed. It was not even under a casing stone of granite.
Originally, not only was the mortuary temple cased in precision carved granite, there is also evidence for the same type of curved and complex granite cornice blocks that are found on the Valley and Sphinx temples. In fact, the blocks here are even more sophisticated and difficult. Just a little way off to the side of the temple structure can be found what are sometimes called the couch blocks that have compound curved surfaces made with utter precision and very regular. Christopher Dunn, an expert manufacturing engineer and machinist with over 40 years in the industry, and someone I'm proud to say is a friend of mine, has studied the precisely made compound curved surfaces of these granite couch blocks and reported on his findings in his books, The Giza Power Plant and Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt. Here's what he had to say about the couch blocks of the mortuary temple. Quote, "This piece of granite has all the hallmarks of machining. Cut into the pieces are characteristics that experienced machinists and designers use to allow a more rigid, stronger tool to be used to machine it. But, you may say, there were no machines in ancient Egypt. Why then would these features exist? We could say that there have been no machines found in the archaeological record that we can argue were responsible for this kind of work. This presents a bit of a conundrum, for there are no tools whatsoever in the ancient Egyptians' toolbox that can be used to replicate what has been crafted in igneous rock, and which imposes its majesty on our consciousness. But before we begin discussing what tools might have been responsible for cutting Egyptian stone in antiquity, let us take a look at what is machine-like about this block. The quality and precision of the piece are the same as on the cornice block near the Valley Temple. From a manufacturing perspective, this piece would have been more difficult to manufacture than the cornice. The cornice has a simple contour that is projected along a precise path without interruption. The couch has 3 vertical walls that I call arms and back, with a transitional and true 0.4375